ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
अष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी.
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, the title The Most Confidential Knowledge, and the verse number is 29. Samoham sarvabhutesu
Samoham sarvabhutesu
name dvesa stitna priya
नामे द्वेष अस्ति न प्रियः
ye bhajanti tumam bhakta
ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या
mai te te suchapi aham.
मयि ते तेषु चाप्यहम्
Samoham sarvabhutesu
समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु
न मे द्वेषोऽस्तित्वा न प्रिया
न मे द्वेषस्ति न प्रियः
ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्ता
ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या
मयि ते तेषु चापि अहम्.
मयि ते तेषु चाप्यहम्।
Any Prabhuji Mataji?
Samoham sarvabhutesu
Samoham sarvabhutesu
Name deshosti na priyaha
name desosthitana priya
Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya
ये भजन्ति
bhajanti
तु मां
tumam
भक्त्या
bhakta
Mayi te teshu chapyaham
मयि
मयि
ते
ते
तेषु
तेषु
चाप्यहम्।
चाप्यहम्.
समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु
समोऽहं
समोऽहं
सर्वभूतेषु
सर्वभूतेषु
नामी दविश्य अस्ति नाप्यहं
न
नामे
मे
द्वेषस्ति
द्वेषोऽस्ति न
न
प्रिया
प्रियः।
ये भजन्ति तु मम भक्ता
ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या
मयि ते तेषु चापि अहम्
मयि ते तेषु चाप्यहम्.
समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु
समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु
नामे द्वेष अस्ति न प्रियः।
न मे द्वेषोऽस्ति न प्रिया
ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या
ये भजन्ति तु मम
भजन्ति तु
भक्ता
मां भक्त्या
मयि ते तेषु चाप्यहम्।
मयि ते तेषु चापि अहम्
समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु
समोऽहं
समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु
सर्वभूतेषु
न मे द्वेषः अस्ति न प्रियः
न
न
मे
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 द्वेष अस्ति न
द्वेषोऽस्ति न
द्वेषोऽस्ति न
प्रियः।
प्रियः
प्रिया
ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या
ये
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 भजन्ति
भजन्ति तु
भजन्ति
मां
तु मां
भक्ता
भक्त्या
भक्त्या
मयि ते तेषु च अपि अहम्
मयि ते
मयि ते
तेषु
ते
तेषु
चापि
तेषु
अहम्
चाप्यहम्।
चाप्यहम्. Word by word meaning. Sama, equally disposed.
सम
सम
equally
equally
disposed
disposed.
Aham, I.
अहम्
Aham, I.
Sarvabhutesu, to all living entities.
सर्वभूतेषु
Sarvabhuteshu, to
to
all
all
to
living
living
all
entities.
living entities.
Na, no one.
Na, no
No,
one.
no one.
Me, to me.
to
Me
me,
to
Me
me.
to
me,
me.
me.
Dveshya, hateful.
Dveshya,
Dvesha
hateful.
Dveshya,
hateful.
hateful.
Asti, is.
He
Asti
is.
is.
Asti is.
Na, nor.
Na,
No,
No,
no.
no.
Priya, dear.
Dear,
dear,
dear.
dear, dear.
Here.
Ye, those who.
Ye,
Ye,
those who.
those who.
Those who.
Bhajanti, render transcendental service.
Bhajanti,
Bhajanti, render
service.
transcendental service.
Service.
To, but.
To, but,
To, but.
But
Mam, unto me.
unto
Mam,
me.
unto me.
mom unto me.
Mam, unto me.
Bhaktya, in devotion.
Bhakta in devotion.
Bhaktya, in devotion.
Devotion.
My, are in me.
My
My
are
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 in
in
me.
me.
Te, such persons.
they, such
They
person.
such person.
Tesu, in them.
Yesu in them.
Issue in them.
Cha, also.
Cha
Cha
also.
also.
Api, certainly.
That api
Api
certainly.
certainly.
Aham, I.
Aham, I.
Aham I.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai.
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 I envy no one,
I
I
envy
no
no
one.
one,
nor am I partial to anyone.
nor
Nor
am I
am
am
partial
I
to
partial to
anyone.
to anyone.
I am equal to all.
I am
I am
equal
equal
to
to
all.
all.
equal to all.
But whoever renders service unto me
But
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 whoever
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 renders service unto
service
me,
unto me
to me,
in devotion is a friend,
in
devotion
devotion is a
devotion
friend,
is a friend.
is in me.
is
is
in
in
me,
Is
me,
in me.
I am also a friend of to him.
and
and
I
I
And
am
am
I
also
also
a
a
am
friend
also
friend
of
to
to
him.
him.
friend to him.
Any Prabhuji or Mataji would like to read this page of purport?
Let
One, one may question here that if Krishna is equal to everyone and no one is his special friend, then why does he take a special interest in the devotees who are always engaged in his transcendental service? But this is not discrimination. It is natural. Any man in this material world may be very charitably disposed, yet has a special interest in his own children. The Lord claims that every living entity in whatever form is his son, and so he provides everyone with a generous uh, supply for the necessities of life. He is just like a cloud which pour rain all over, regardless of whether it falls on rock or land or water. But for his devotees, he gives special attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they are always transcendentally situated in Krishna. The very phrase Krishna consciousness suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalist, situated in him. The Lord says here distinctly, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. That is reciprocal.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else would like to read this page?
This also explains the words ye yatha mam prapadyante tam trusting bhajami aham. Whoever surrenders unto me, proportionately I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter, and when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotee. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotee. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else would like to read this page?
Yes, Prabhuji. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from the desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of his material world. It is part of the spiritual world, where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate.
Thank you, Prabhu. And what a verse we are going to discuss today. So let's have our invocation prayers. Let's do it all together so that we can save some time. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Yakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataruvyasya Kripa Sindhuvaiva cha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha of this Bhagavad Gita discussion forum. And today we are discussing this 9th chapter, which is the most confidential knowledge. And here Krishna is giving a very confidential theme in 29, where he's saying, Samoham Sarvabhutesu. That means I'm equal to everyone. Name Desho Astitna Priya. That means I'm not hateful to anyone. But he says, Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. That means, but those who render transcendental service, I am in them and they are in me. So it is a very simple words to understand, and at the same time, it is a very difficult words to understand. So the question becomes, is Krishna partial or impartial? In the first line, he says, I am equal to everyone. That means he is impartial. And then in the second line, he says, I am not hateful to anyone. That means he is impartial to everyone. So he is impartial to everyone in the first line and impartial to everyone in the second line. But then he goes on to say, Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. That means those who render devotional service, I am in them and they are in me. So we have to understand what is I am in them and they are in me. Is that partial? Is that impartial? This is a criticality of understanding of personalist an impersonalist. And that is where we have to understand, who is Krishna? Is he from this material world where the karmic reaction, the Maya Shakti prevails, or he is in a spiritual platform where the bhakti energy, not the Maya energy, works? And should we see the difference and try to understand in that context? So, with that, there are so many nice examples given here by Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, and that's why in the first four line, Krishna is very, very clear. I'm equal to all, I envy no one, nor I'm partial to anyone. So these two lines clearly says Krishna is impartial. But then he puts a curveball by saying, but whoever renders devotional unto me in devotion, renders devotional service unto me, is a friend in me and also a friend in. So that fourth line needs to be understood properly. Krishna is neither partial nor impartial. Krishna is reciprocal. So there is a difference. Is reciprocal considered partial or impartial? We have to understand that. So whenever you have a teacher, he is teaching to everyone. He is not partial to anybody. But when a person goes and asks some doubt, he goes and asks for doubts as an extra step. The teacher, in his obligation, has to clarify the doubt. What is teacher doing here? He is being reciprocal to the person who is asking the question. Is he partial there or is he impartial there? So that is a thought we have to understand, because this is a very complex chapter. Is Krishna is explaining about the confidential knowledge, and many people can understand it the wrong way and try to create very confusion, a lot of confusion with this verse. So we have to understand Krishna as a supreme teacher, as a guru, is explaining to somebody who has come for clearing his doubt. And that is how we should take this. And then Krishna, Srila Prabhupada writes here, when the rain comes, rain doesn't distinguish between itself whenever it falls on a stone or falls on a loose soil. It rains everywhere. The stone gets the water, but the loose soil gets water. But the loose soil absorbs water very nicely. And when the loose soil absorbs water, then there is regeneration of seed or seedlings on the loose soil. The stone is so strong, the heart of the stone is so strong that stone cannot receive water. Even if it's raining, stone cannot receive water. When stone cannot receive water, the seed or seedlings cannot grow on it. See how different it is? Krishna is there everywhere. But by virtue of our receptibility, our acceptability of the Supreme, the outcomes are different. And that is exactly what Krishna is saying in the third and fourth line. If somebody comes to me in doubt, if somebody has a heart who who's who can penetrate his heart with Krishna in his heart, I am bound to be there. That's why Srila Prabhupada says, this bhakti is so beautiful, the bhakti is so meaningful that you do not have to ask for anything from Krishna. Krishna knows everything in your heart. You render devotional service, then Krishna, and by doing devotional service, you become a servant of Krishna. And Krishna, seeing that you are becoming a servant of Krishna, becomes a servant of the devotee. So beautiful when you think about it. In what path of yogic philosophy the Supreme Personality of Godhead eventually becomes the servant of the devotee? When the Mahabharata was fought, Krishna could have fought the war and would have finished it in no time, finished the war in no time. But Krishna chose to become a charioteer, more like a servant of his greatest devotee, Arjuna. And that clearly shows the difference between bhakti and which is at a spiritual level, and the Maya, which is a material level. So that's the reason why whenever we understand Lord Krishna's intentions, because he is in a spiritual platform, we will get a lot of clarity in our hearts about this verse. Otherwise, we'll continuously say Krishna was partial to Duryodhan, was partial to Karna. But if you truly understand the teacher example, the rain example, when it meets the stone and soil, it will be very clear what Krishna is referring here. So whenever you put a stone in a river, you get concentric circles out of the stone going into the river. But when you put two stones into the river, the waves collide. When the waves collide, after some time, wave stops. It is not a very pleasant thing. Unless we seek our knowledge from a single entity, we are going to be confused. And that is the reason why Krishna has ample examples in Bhagavad Gita where he's showcasing who he is. And that is what we're going to discuss a little bit with those slokas. So when Duryodhana and Arjuna came to Krishna, Krishna was resting. Duryodhan was very egoistic. He had a lot of ahankar. He was on the side of the head. And Arjuna was a great devotee. He was on the side of the leg. When Krishna opened his eyes, he saw Arjuna for the first time. So before anybody could ask, Krishna gave the opportunity to Arjuna to ask the question, what you are looking for. And there are two things on the cards. One is whether one person is going to get the Akshoni Shena of Krishna, or the other person is going to get Krishna, but Krishna is not going to lift a single weapon. And as Duryodhan would always look at a material level, or Duryodhan would look at a karmic level, Krishna knew what Duryodhana was thinking, because Krishna is in everyone's hearts. So when Arjuna was given the first opportunity, because Krishna saw Arjuna for the first time, Arjuna asked for Krishna. Just having Krishna in their side is enough without Krishna even lifting a single weapon. But Duryodhana, wrongly, he asked for the entire Sena of Krishna. So Krishna gave the entire Sena of him to fight against him. But Arjuna just got Krishna. And that is where Sakuni goes on to say, Krishna is partial. But is that partial? It is not, because Krishna was just being reciprocal. Because if somebody is serving, is going to the extent of asking a question, Krishna gives the right of answering the question to that person who is bhajanti, who is actually serving him. This is simple reciprocal tendency. If somebody asks for help, you offer help. If somebody doesn't ask for help and you go on to asking help, there is no guarantee that the person is asking for help, and there is a difference. And then in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Pitaham asya jagato. That means he is, and Krishna also says, Mata dhata pitamaha. That means he is the father of the universe, the mother of the universe, and the grandfather of the universe. So that means when a father is there, a mother is there, and a grandfather is there, you like everybody in your around you. We like all of us in the Bhakti Vriksha we have. But whenever it comes to your kids or grandkids, you have a special affection. And when you have that special affection, it is not called partiality. It is serving the duties. And that is when Krishna goes on to say, I am the father, I am the mother, and the grandshire. And that is when, if somebody comes to him, he is like a child. And in order to serve the child, you do not become partial, you just become reciprocal. And that is the difference, which is the essence of this verse. So, this personalized nature, the Pita, the Mata, the Pitamaha, is possible because Krishna is a person, he is a supreme person. And if you think from a personalized nature, this affection, this reciprocation comes from the personal nature. So that's why you can only understand these words if you're personalized. If you are following a impersonal thought process that Krishna is in the vacuum, you can't really imagine the supreme person is somebody, is a Brahma. That's a very wrong way to recognize. The only way we can understand the supreme person is thinking that he is a person. Without thinking that he is a person, we cannot understand head and tail out of any of these verses, because these verses dovetail the loving relationship between the supreme and the subordinate, like all of us, the jivas. So who we should go to? That's a question. You have a car. The car is manufactured by a company, company A. The manual, the software is manufactured by company A. Then the parts are manufactured by company A. When you get your car from Toyota, Honda, or Mazda or Mercedes, the parts comes from a company. The software comes from that company. This entire system comes from a company. But when the problem comes, do you go to a company B to fix the car? You always go to company A. So when Krishna is saying, Aham bija pradaprita, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, that means everything comes from him. He is the seed giving father of everyone. And when the trouble comes, we do not go to Krishna, we go somewhere else. That is not going to help us in any way. And, and that is the essence of the verse, that when Krishna is Pita, he is the Mata, he is the Pitamaha, then there is no reason for us to seek solution elsewhere. Exactly like you don't take a Honda car to a Mercedes factory to fix the internal software hardware of a car. And nowadays, softwares drive the car. You very much know that they are so interconnected. There is so much of codification. There's so much of computing which goes there that you have to go to the right source. When Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and you all have emanated from him and he is there in your heart as a soul and a super soul, you don't have to go to any other place. And that is the mistake people end up doing all the time. And that is why there is so much of confusion in this world. So, and there are some supporting verses about this. And Srila Prabhupada quotes about Ye yathamam prapadyante tamsataiva bhajamiham. That means as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Exactly like when there is some enthusiasm in a student, the teacher recognizes that this person is enthusiastic enough, and that's why he rewards them. Exactly like, and that's what Krishna says in 4.11. And then Aham Bija Pradapita, Krishna says in 14.4, another supporting words. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Aham Bija Pradapita. Krishna says that he is the seed-giving father of every living being, tree, animals, uh, creepers, plants, insects, everyone. So, as Krishna is the seed-giving father, then obviously a person who is a child of Krishna, in that sense, everybody is a child of Krishna. But when a person becomes Krishna conscious, he offers devotional service, and then he becomes a child of Krishna in the conscious level. Everybody is a child, but when a person becomes rebel, he is not a child anymore. In a conscious level, he is not a child anymore. So from a Krishna conscious perspective, it is very important that we have the supporting verses with us. And then the greatest verse is Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engages in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So Krishna is clearly saying that he is the Supreme Father here, and a Supreme Father always loves the child closer, and that is when Krishna is reciprocal, not partial. So Krishna is very reciprocal. We have seen so many examples whether Krishna is Arjuna's heart, and Arjuna knows that he is a devotee is in Krishna's heart, and in Arjuna, Krishna is there. Ramji is in Hanuman's heart. Hanumanji is in Ram's heart because that relationship is so profound that they are mutually in each other's heart. So this verse can be misunderstood, but for devotees like us, we have to recognize that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when he ends up saying that he doesn't discriminate between anybody, but ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya, that means if you render devotional service, then Krishna is in them and they are in Krishna. And what is that render devotional service? If you are not attached to any service, is to remember him in the age of Kali, Kalo Nath Hare Kirtana. That means in this age of Kali, just chanting the holy name. Very simple. You don't have to, if you're not involved in a temple service or anything, you don't have to. You should aspire to, that's a different thing. But if you are not aspiring and you're starting out, just chant the holy name. That will bhajanti. That is the greatest bhajan you can do. And from the 7:30 to 7:40, for 10 minutes we chanted. Exactly, you could chant in your rooms while seated position. And when you chant, it's very pleasing to Krishna. And when you start chanting the holy name, you arouse that loving relationship with Krishna. And then Krishna becomes very reciprocal to you. He's not partial before, he's not partial after, he's just reciprocal. So with that, I would like to end here. There's a lot to talk about, but I would like to hear your comments, questions, corrections if you have. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments from anyone?
Guruji, in Kali Yuga, chanting is the main thing only, and with that we have to have devotional service.
Very nice question, Prabhu. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned, Prabhuji, that in Satya Yuga, meditational technique was very clear because everything was pure, people could meditate. But as there was a bit of a contamination in Treta Yuga, people started rendering yajna and other kinds of services. In Dwapar Yuga, it turned to Archana. But by Kali Yuga, there is so much of contamination that getting the right drabya items for yajna, or writing the right consciousness for archana, or having the right mindset to utter the mantras properly, it became so difficult that by Kali Yuga, the chanting of the holy name was the only recommended process. So what that means is whenever you have fever, you have to take the medication of fever. So in Kali Yuga, if you start doing yajna, it is very difficult. The entire life will be spent and you have to learn so many things, but at the end of the day, you will not be able to perfect. So the recipe or the solution is Harina. So once you start doing chanting Prabhu, then you you generate some shraddha, then you have some ruchi. So then, so 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 based on the Bhaktilata beach, you start having general inclination to do devotional service, but it should start with having some love in the name. If the name is not being chanted properly, the other things, the devotional service and other things, they are useless. So if you're chanting, then subsequently it will naturally dovetail into the other things you just mentioned. But you should start with chanting the holy name. And a lot of people get the opportunity to do devotional service, they're attached to a temple, but a lot of people are not close to a temple, they have other challenges, so it is not a must. But if you have access and you have grown that element of ruchi and love and so on, as mentioned in the Bhaktilata Beach, the creeper, um, we have discussed in one of our classes, then why not? If you have the opportunity, yes. So that will make you have a personalized thing. Whenever you buy a car nowadays, it tends to personalize it for your thing. So it's a good thing. But if you do not have that facility, having the basics of chanting, but chanting is the basic, it's the bare backbone of the car you need. After that, the personalization is important, but the basic car is nothing but the chanting of the holy name. If we do not have the basics right, then the other subsequent things is not going to be helpful. So did I answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, very nice, very nice. I thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments, corrections?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
So,
Nice class Prabhuji. So one thing I just I have in my mind, actually I was trying to ask you like last class, but it's already late, so I didn't able to ask. So Prabhuji, actually in our Gaudiya Sampradaya, right, like the Mahamantra starts with Hare Krishna, right, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But I can see in some temples actually it starts with Hare Ram, like the opposite. Okay, like the words are opposite. Okay, it starts with Hare Ram, and then Hare Krishna at this next line. I'm not sure like why, like is both are same or any change, like why like there are two like different there, right? Do you see Prabhuji this one in some
yeah,
temples I see like.
yes, Prabhuji. So Prabhu, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came 500 years ago, and he gave the holy name, what he gave is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Exactly like how we chant. But at that time, Prabhuji, there are competing philosophies. They're similar, but they are not the same. And they had professed some variation of that because they were competing. But the fact is, as mentioned by scriptures, by Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so many bona fide scriptures, this is the holy name as professed by um, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But once we get into the contradictions of various different uh, lineages or so-called paramparas, because at the time there are many apasampradayas, there are many lineages which were not bona fide. They were they had they were competing against each other, so they were um, trying to come up with a variation of it to jeopardize or to rather challenge the authority of some sampradaya. So we have to resort to our lineage. So having said that, whenever you join a university, right, Prabhu, you follow the university rules and regulation. There may be some other universities who are teaching in a slightly different way, but whenever the exam comes, you have to follow the university guidelines. So that's the reason why we have to follow what our Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra from our lineage have given. So once we start uh, reading literature from other lineages, there'll be confusion. And you rightly have asked the question, but we should kind of, avoid that thing. But the real Mahamantra is what is mentioned in how we chant and how it has been given to us by our Guru Parampara and Gurudev, and that is exactly how we have to follow. So we have to kind of, shun and ignore, and there are many such variations. There are one or two variations I know which happened during the 15th and 16th century, and we have to just ignore it, Prabhu. Does that help, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, one more thing, like in all the human beings, right? Like Kshirodaksha Vishnu, he reside as Paramatma, right? In everyone's heart, right? So just want to know, like, what about the demigods and Brahma? So they, in their heart also, that there will be a Paramatma, right? Like, so who will be residing in their heart? Like same like Kshirodaksha Vishnu or any?
Yeah. So all this devas and Brahma, they are they are jivas at the end of the day. They have a time period. Maybe their unit of time period is different, but they're definitely jiva tattva. They have a start date. They're created and they disappear. They live for a long period, but there is a finite time. And there are many universes which get created from the pores of uh, you know Karnadoksha Vishnu. So there are many Brahmas in many different universes. Like one universe will have one Brahma, one cosmic universe will have another Brahma. So there are many Brahmas. So in that context, they are created and they are annihilated. So they have a start date and they have ended. So in the heart of those personalities, Krishna is there as Swayam Bhagavan, as a soul and super soul, because they are indirectly jiva tattvas. They get some special benefits. They live longer. They have their HODs, in the sense they look at the design creative angle. Like Brahmaji looks at the creative architecture of so he kind of leads the department. Indra leads certain department. Varuna leads some departments. So they gain some. They have some extra powers, but the basic jiva tattva aspect applies to them as well. Does that help, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
One question. What about Shiva? He is Jiv Tattva or?
See, uh, Lord Shiva, who is Rudra, he was born from Brahmaji's forehead, and uh, and so when Brahmaji gave birth to four Kumaras, he wanted them to be the progenitor of this world. But four Kumaras said, no, we don't want to be progenitors. We don't want to procreate. We want to follow the path of Gyan. So then Brahmaji became angry, and from his forehead, Rudra came. So in that sense, Rudra, who is Lord Shiva, has come from Brahma. So he has qualities, but in the way we should understand is, as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, is Vaishnavanam Yathasambhu. That means he is a great Vaishnava, and the great Vaishnava, he's always chanting the holy name, and he is always thinking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is hearing or discussing Srimad Bhagavatam with Mother Parvati. So he takes care of the annihilation of this world as it goes through different cycles. So in that sense, he also has a lot of powers. He has a lot of qualities. It's mentioned in in Damodar Lila about the various qualities, and Brahmaji have 50 qualities. Shiva has 55 qualities in full. Narayan has 60 qualities in full, and Lord Krishna has 64 qualities in full. And there are 4 qualities which is mentioned in the Damodar Leela about the personalized form, about the Venu Madhuri and all that. So to answer your question, Prabhu, Lord Shiva has stronger qualities in full. He is the topmost Vaishnava. We do not discriminate between Lord Shiva in the sense that we should all respect Lord Shiva, but Shiva Tattva is often misunderstood. Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, they are like milk and curd. From milk, once curd is there, from curd you cannot get back into milk, and they are irreversible. So they come originally from the same source, but they're not one and the same. So they're same in a way and not the same in another way. So we have to be very careful in saying, is Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar, these 3 personalities are the of the 6 avatar types, they are one avatar type. So, but Krishna is not avatar, right? Krishna is avatari. He is the source. So one is a source, one is avatar. But are we supposed to undermine or keep one at a higher pedestal, lower pedestal? No. Where we are, we are way low in our, we as humble devotees, we have to look at Lord Shiva with tremendous amount of respect. Not as if this is low, this is high. As we mentioned about the make and model of the car, any problem we have the car, we have to go to the source. And the source may delegate, hey, go to that mechanic, go to the head of the department and fix your car accordingly. So by doing so, he may delegate, but our source is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and he is Purna Purushottam Krishna. Was that okay, Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay.
Any other comments or reflections? So if there is none, let's end here. We have Ram Navami coming Sunday. There's a lot of devotional service opportunities. Ramji's appearance day, and Ramji is a hero in every sense. He's a right son. He is a righteous king, and he is the Maryada Purushottam. So we'll have a lot of festivities in our temple. So please join coming Sunday, 5 to 9 p.m. And if you have any question or comments, you can reach out to me separately if you want to serve in any different way. So let's end here if there is no other question, comments. Vancha kalpataruvesha kripa sindhuvaevacha patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namo. Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.